Hello, and welcome to an intro to Anthro with two humans. I'm human number one, John McCray.
And I'm human number two, John Lehr.
And this is the podcast where we reassess what it means to be human. And the title of today's episode is Man, It's What's for Dinner, a cultural and culinary history of cannibalism.
Oh, culinary. Oh, boy.
So we'll get to that, John. But first of all, I just want to say you're coming to us from Norway.
Yeah, Oslo, Norway.
Yeah.
And I sound terrible because I had a cold. I've had a cold forever, as listeners know. This is, I think, our third. But now I sound really bad because I had to travel. Crossing international lines. I'm jet lagged. This may be my last podcast. It's possible.
Really?
Well, just that I may not make it. I
don't know. Try to find a replacement when you're there.
I will. I'll find a Norwegian. They're very friendly and hardworking, so you'll do better. I am 50% or 25% Norwegian. So
are you?
Yes, I am.
I've noticed, in addition to just having a sore throat, it sounds like you're picking up a Norwegian accent.
Really?
Which is what happens when people from Canada travel overseas.
Yes. Well, I'm here for a comedy festival.
Yeah.
Which I'm performing in and teaching with Susan Messing, who is one of the foremost improvisers. And she's making the dick sucking movement right now. Teachers and performers, and a super talent, as it were. And I'm really riding on her coattails. But we are here for this comedy festival. It's our second year. We were here last year.
Wow.
And last year when we were here, right in the neighborhood that we're staying, and we're staying in the same neighborhood, is a heavy metal festival.
Oh, wow. That's great. That's great.
Yeah, so it's pretty great. There's all of these middle-aged heavy metal guys, Norwegian guys walking around, which is pretty hilarious. So, so far so good. We're just coming up. Like, we got in yesterday morning, Norway time. And so yesterday was just like, it's a free-for-all. You just do whatever you can. We fell asleep, we woke up, whatever. And then today we're finally getting to be acclimated. So tomorrow we start teaching and start performing.
Do you, what's the class you're teaching, first of all?
Tomorrow, improv for television and film.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. And Susan, what are you teaching tomorrow? Her class is called Don't Step Over the Dead Body. The dead corpse. Yeah. The dead corpse. Yeah, it is redundant, but that's funny.
Yeah, that is funny.
Is kind of apropos to what we're talking about here.
That's what I was going to say. It's so today
class is about, like, look, if something happens on stage, don't ignore it, go with it.
You just gotta acknowledge it and then
exactly.
Move on. A lot like life. Life.
You're an improv aficionado. You understand. We're all the same people here.
I've just been improvising my life for probably the last 50 years anyway.
Well, I always tell people, where did you learn to improv? And I say, it's from you. We were growing up with you. I didn't know it at the time, but that's exactly what we were doing.
It was just delusional.
Yeah.
It was just, I created a world inside my own head that I'm still living in.
We were just trying to escape from the not so great life we inherited.
So anyway, John, to get down to business, we obviously are a comedy anthropology podcast.
Yes, I'd say anthropological comedy. I put anthro first. We're science first.
Do you? Okay.
No, not really. No.
I'm always like, we try to put the emphasis on comedy. It's still, we don't know yet.
We're infotainment. We give you your medicine with a little bit of sugar.
Yeah. We'll see what the New York Times says about that.
Oh boy.
But today, John, we're going to be talking about cannibalism, about eating members of our own species.
Something you and I hold near and dear.
Yeah, We made a pact years ago
Yeah.
that we know what to do.
Yep.
I carry that paper that you signed in my wallet.
You've got the better end of the deal, though, because I'm fattier. You're all wired and muscular and chewy.
Yeah.
If you slow cook me, you're gonna enjoy it like a nice pot roast.
You should. I'm like an old turkey neck.
Yeah,
Thanksgiving. You'll get something out of there, but you got to work for it.
I'm just gonna turn you into human jerky.
Yeah, please. You could use me for. I'm like a soup bone. You could put me in put me with some carrots and some potatoes or something.
Can't you make jerky in the dishwasher? Didn't you tell me that?
No, I think it was Vincent Price was on like the Mike Douglas show back in the 70s. And he was making steamed salmon in the dishwasher. So he wraps up some salmon in some foil, put it in the dishwasher, set it to, I don't know, wash or something. So you better wrap it up well.
Yeah.
But he had made steamed salmon in the dishwasher. I think it was Vincent Price.
That is a weird reference within a reference wrapped up in a reference.
I know. You could, I guess if you take it that you could cook with your dishwasher now too, you could get rid of your microwave. You could get rid of your stove.
Your blender.
Throw some ice in there. It could be like a refrigerator or freezer.
Yeah. We don't need, let's pare down.
Just pare down just a dishwasher. That's all you need. But we could try jerky in there sometime.
Yeah. I'd like to, well, I'm just saying if I have to jerky you, I'll put you in a dishwasher.
Hey now. So anyway, but I'll be honest with you, this may be a challenge for us to try to find humor in cannibalism. So I tried to, it was hard for me to come up with a title for today's episode that was both culturally and socially tasteful.
Touche.
Yeah. And so I originally came up with the title. My working title was "He Ain't Heavy. He's Only 125 calories per serving," which is a tip of the hat to the 1969 song "He Ain't Heavy. He's My Brother."
That's great.
Yeah, and then after a few days, it just came to me like a lightning bolt. Man, it's what's for dinner.
That's amazing.
And of course, I've tried to do my best Sam Elliott with that because it's a tip of the hat to that ad campaign back in the 90s.
Yeah,
pork, beef. Pork was the other white meat that was theirs. Remember?
Yes, I remember now.
They were all competing. And I read up on it, and apparently, like beef had tried throughout the 70s or 80s to try to say that was a healthful alternative to chicken and pork and fish.
Right.
And finally, they just gave up. It wasn't working. So the whole beef, it's what's for dinner was supposed to be a return to just acknowledge that beef may not be healthful, but it really tastes good.
That's right.
And so the original one, had Robert Mitchum doing the voice.
Really? Did not know that.
And Robert Mitchum, he's kind of like, when you listen to his, you can tell it's kind of like he knows how ridiculous it is.
Yes.
And so he kind of says like, beef, it's what's for dinner. He kind of puts a little lilt on it.
Yeah.
And then after, I don't know if he passed away or whatever, but they got Sam Elliott to do it. And of course, everything Sam Elliott says is like kind of a winking, kind of like you want to be cool, right?
Yeah.
You want to do this.
That's Sam Elliott. That voice took him a long way.
I know. It's just a voice and a mustache.
You think he's a good actor, and then you listen to him. I wonder if you changed the nature of his voice, if you'd still think that.
Yeah.
That voice takes him halfway home. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, if he was like, who was it, Buster Poindexter?
Oh, God, this guy's terrible.
Yeah. And then, they put it with the music of Aaron Copland's Hoedown from the ballet Rodeo.
Oh
Remember, it's
my
like they
God.
have that.
Yes, I do. Yes, I do.
so, so it was supposed to be this return to Americana. Like, let's just
Yeah.
get back to eating beef.
Yeah. Yeah.
And, but something tells me, if you were the type of person that would listen to like Robert Mitchum or Sam Elliott telling you to eat more beef, something tells me you're already eating a lot of beef.
Yeah, exactly. He's preaching to the converted.
Right. It was more just to kind of assure you. But, you could have had like Cyndi Lauper at that point telling you to eat more beef. And they would be like, okay, all right.
Let's see Sam Elliott get us to eat people. You know what I mean?
Yeah. But anyway, John, for people that don't know, you and I are both real beef eaters. Like we like beef.
Yeah, we grew up on it.
Yeah.
And it's part of who we are.
Right.
And there's no question in my mind that we should not be eating beef.
Right.
It's wasteful. It's bad for the environment. It's bad for your body. On so many levels. It's not halal. It's not kosher.
Yeah.
Nothing. We should all be vegetarian. There's no question. But God damn, I can't get through a meal without having some meat.
I was thinking the same thing. It's
just, I don't know. It's like, is it an addiction? Like, what is it?
It's growing up in Kansas, there's no telling how many thousand head of cattle I've already consumed myself.
Yeah.
And I think beef burn ends from a Kansas City barbecue place is about the best food ever.
You just did me a great injustice because I'm in Norway, about as far as you can be from Kansas City burnt ends, and you just put it in my head.
There we go. That's what we should be opening up, like burnt end places around the world.
Right. There are American hamburger places in Europe, as we found them, and there is one nearby that's like it sets itself up as an LA hamburger joint.
Yeah.
And it's really good.
Do you?
It's really good. And I went up to the owner afterwards and said, I'm from LA. You nailed it. And he was so proud. So proud.
Oh, that's good. Was he Norwegian or was he a guy from LA?
He was Norwegian. They were, I don't know what made him do it. I didn't get into he didn't speak great English, but they nailed it. Really? They usually, though, in this place, a little bit of this, they go too far. Like there's too much cheese or it's too much. You're just like, whoa, put the brakes on just a little bit. Yeah. But it was good.
French fries, shake. Did you get a shake with it?
I didn't get a shake. We got the French fries. The French fries were okay, but it really was about the burger. They did it. Yeah. They did it though.
What they do? Have Beach Boys playing in there in the background?
No. They had it was hip hop. It was
really?
LA.
Oh, that's great. Oh,
yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's good.
It was good.
What's your favorite barbecue place in Kansas City? Do you still have one, or do you?
Yeah, I'm old school. I'm Arthur Bryant. Which if you're hearing this and you've never had barbecue in Kansas City, I don't recommend going to Arthur Bryant for your first. It's an acquired taste. Yeah, you know what I mean. The sauce is kind of salty.
It's been around forever.
Around forever. Yeah, you walk in and there are two huge jars, like 10-gallon jars of sauce that part of the recipe is they sit it in the window for a couple of weeks. This is not a place. It's
like garum. It's like garum.
Yeah, it is like garum. That's a callback to our previous episode. If you haven't seen it. So I would not recommend that really. Yeah. I would do like Jack Stacks is probably a good one. What do you think? What's a good one for people?
There's so many. I'm the same way because I moved away from Kansas City, like 35, 40 years ago. Yeah. And there's so many new ones that are out there.
Yeah.
but I still always go back to Gates and Sons barbecue
Gates,
sauce is my
yeah.
favorite.
I think Gates is a good one for anybody, though. I would still
Yeah.
recommend Gates. If you're in
Yeah.
Kansas City and you're near Gates, you ain't gonna go wrong there.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
And the other one for burn-ins are good almost everywhere, but Jack Stack
Yeah.
burn-ins are really good.
Damn.
Yeah. And you got to go in the restaurant. It's a whole experience of going in, and that beef smell, that meat smell and smoke just infuses in your clothes.
Son of a bitch. Now what am I gonna do?
Yeah.
Anyway, John, we have to eat each other.
I know. I may have to, I have burn-ins flown into me a few times each year. And after I get done here, I may have to go get online and order it and have it sent down to me.
Yeah, you do it for the Chiefs games, right?
Yeah. Well, Chiefs games, and then a couple of times, I mean, they just hit you. Jack Stack will send you, they'll hit you with emails, and then they'll have texts, and then they'll send me the catalog, every once in a while. And by the end of it, after after a few days of that, I'm just like, okay, let's do this. Let's do this.
They all wash their hands in barbecue sauce as they're folding up the mailings.
Yeah, they just they have a brush there that they just put a little essence on it. But anyway, John, the point I'm trying to make is that we're meat eaters. You and I are both meat eaters. And I would say I have that beef, it's what's for dinner playing in my head at all times. Like in the background. That's like music. You know what I mean? The music and Sam Elliott or Robert Mitchum.
It's who you are.
Yeah. But today we're going to talk about the other red meat, which is humans. And I have to admit, as an avowed meat eater, researching this episode, there were some things I came across, some photos and some accounts that were a little unnerving. They were a little disgusting. You know what I mean?
Of course.
Yeah.
It should be. You'd have to be like a sociopath to not.
Right. And but and then I had to get over it by saying, well, I think that's who humans are. We're like this brilliant species. But there's also some things that we do, not all the time, but some things we do that are disgusting and make us uncomfortable.
Well, yeah, I think, I think that, this show is sort of about finding out what it means to be human. And I think that you've hit on it. We're like this dichotomy of this brilliant, wonderful, what a piece of work is man. And then at the same time, our brains are too big so that we invent stupid stuff that will end up destroying us.
Right. And I don't know, have you ever been into like serial killer movies or serial killer? You're into those?
God, yeah. Hannibal Lecter and what was it called? Silence of the Lambs. Oh, man.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
See, I've never really been into. I mean, I remember like even in like junior high, there were guys that were into like reading about serial killers, which always makes you wonder about them.
Yeah.
And but I've never really been into slasher movies or anything like that.
Oh God, I love it. I love it.
You should stop it. You should stop me if I'm making you uncomfortable.
No.
Because you're making me uncomfortable.
Well,
I had no idea you were so into it.
Oh yeah, it's fascinating. It's the darkest thing. I mean, it's the most wrong a person can, or one of them. It's one of those that if we break, it's just the worst.
Yeah. And I had to make some choices in this episode just because of time. And so I tried to keep it more for the big issues about cannibalism and its taboos, how it's been viewed through history and different cultures. So I'm purposely staying away from individual pathological cannibals.
So we're not going to get into what's his face? Who's the one who ate everybody and put him in his fridge?
Oh no! Oh, you said it.
That's the one we got to know about Dahmer.
Yeah. See, I was trying to keep it tasteful, and now you brought it back
man.
over. So maybe you could.
You know what he would do? He would take a human head, turn it upside down, and eat out of the neck like it was a pudding pack. That's true.
So much. So much for trying to keep it tasteful. I tried, everybody. I tried.
He would put a foil over the neck and take the head in his bowling ball bag to work for lunch.
Oh, that's awful. Just microwaving that. That.
It takes forever to get through the skull.
break room at work. Like
he's got to stir it up and then renuke it and stir it up and renuke it. It takes forever.
You thought it was bad when the popcorn burned in the office. Just wait till you get a load of that.
Oh, Dahmer, clean up the microwave after. My God.
Jesus. I got to put a note on the fridge.
Yeah.
The fridge at work. We're cleaning out the fridge at work next week. Everybody take your stuff home.
Nobody'd steal his lunch, though. Never. He never had to worry.
Just once. Somebody tried.
He'd get Tupperware specifically designed sent to him.
Well, we've gone there. We've gone there now.
Sorry.
We've gone there.
My fault.
John, the other, as you mentioned already, the most famous cannibal probably of all time is Hannibal Lecter.
Hannibal Lecter.
Yeah.
Oh, my God. Do you see the sequel where he's eating the guy's brains and the guy's alive?
No.
Oh,
no.
God.
Was that Red Dragon or was that?
I can't remember.
Yeah.
Red Dragon was the prequel or? I don't know.
The prequel. It was the
Live
first
and Die in L.A., right? Wasn't that?
No, that wasn't him, but that was Maneater. With
Maneater, that's it. Yeah.
With William Peterson, who's a Chicago actor.
Yes, we hung out with William Peterson. Remember?
Yeah. Well, his brother, I think his brother ran the Remains Theater, was owner or something of the Remains Theater, which we performed at.
Yes.
The group Ed.
He came up to me at a party and I was wasted and he said, "You've got to take care of your," what did he say? You got to take care of
your temple, man.
Yeah. Like and I was just, what? I was 20. I didn't know anything.
You know, you say that, and then later that night at that same party, I have a memory of seeing William Peterson under the kitchen table.
Oh, really?
Just sitting under there.
Yeah, we all try to help each other, but we can't help ourselves.
Yeah, you always have advice.
He was a good guy, though. I really liked him. Yeah.
His brother was a great guy, too. I always like where and I'll say the Remains Theater to this day was the best theater I've ever had a show in, performed in, or done anything.
I agree. Those first 3 rows of couches. Oh,
yeah.
God. Yeah. Lighting design was incredible. And that was a good place.
Yeah.
They turned it into a Bed Bath and Beyond. Did you know that?
No. I hope there's some ghost of an actor going in there, some or improv artist going in there and haunting the pillow aisle or something. Bring in Ghostbusters.
They went from Mammoth to selling Brita. You know?
It was so beautiful, so beautiful. The whole experience when you came in.
Is it what's the? I think it's now Whole Foods.
Is it? Oh God!
Where the Remains used to be. It's a Whole Foods, or
did they tear it down? It used to be a warehouse or a factory at one time.
Oh yeah, no, she said Bed Bath and Beyond. I was
all right.
That closed. Bed Bath and Beyond went out of business, so now it's nothing.
Really? Turn it back into a theater. Remains too. Remains.
You can make it into a crematorium.
Oh, no.
That'd fit right in.
But anyway, the famous line of Hannibal Lecter is, "I ate his liver with some fava beans and a nice Chianti."
Yes.
Right? That's a one that he always says. Yeah. So anyway, trying to grab onto that Hannibal Lecter, as much as I tried to keep it tasteful, I'm trying to get people to listen to this thing.
Right.
So I grabbed on, I put the word culinary in the title of this.
Which I got my attention right out of the gate.
No,
usually I see your title before but because I'm so jet lagged, it took everything I could to just get the microphone hooked up today.
Right. But I thought, yeah, I just needed something. I'll grab some of that Lehr magic,
Good work.
uh, and stick in colon. I should have put his name in there too.
Yeah.
Like that. I think somehow
Sell us. Sell us,
Hannibal Lecter
baby.
recommends.
Yeah. There we go.
But anyway, just getting down to what is it about cannibalism? I mean, obviously, we're eating somebody or being eaten, but what makes us so squeamish and yet so fascinated by it?
Yes. Well, I think, if I may,
Yeah,
that the biggest line a human can cross is murder. I think because
yeah,
since so much of us are built with this reptilian thing that at all costs propagate the species at all costs,
right,
and which is no longer necessary, obviously, but we still are wired with that, and so murder in and of
yeah,
itself is a huge line. And then what's beyond that? There are a few things beyond that, but one
yeah.
is to then eat the thing you killed. You cross that line and then you eat it, somehow putting it in your body
Yeah,
is just so wrong. And
right,
the more wrong we are, we're fascinated by that.
right. It's Kevin Wetmore in his book Eaters of the Dead: Myths and Realities of Cannibal Monsters kind of
Oh
says
my
the same
God.
thing.
You're going to have some nightmares.
It was awful. It was awful this week. The
Oh,
photos were the worst. The photos were the worst.
oh,
But he says kind of the same thing what you're saying, but the twist on it, he says, as humans, we have a deep memory of being prey, a fear of being eaten alive. Okay. And he says that even some psychologists believe that our fear of the dark has to do with our fear or our memory of being prey.
I agree. You
Yeah.
just have to watch one episode of Naked and Afraid, and you get that.
Yeah, it's awful.
It's awful.
Have you ever felt that? Have you ever had that realization that you were prey at any point,
Yes,
like
once
camping or?
I had I used to camp out. This is after I got sober. I was a little crazy, as one often is when you. And so
Yeah,
once a
yeah,
year, I used to go camping by myself. And I know people do that all the time, but it's a
yeah,
scary thing to go camping by yourself
yeah.
out in the middle of nowhere. And I was in my tent and I heard some big animal.
Yeah,
It was a bear or it was a coyote. It was something on the,
yeah,
as big as a dog or bigger,
yeah.
sniffing around the camp
Oh,
and
oh,
right up to the tent.
oh, no.
And you could smell it, because
Yeah,
it was
yeah,
so pungent. And yeah, that was terrifying. I was scared.
yeah. It's always nowadays. It seems like it's always when you're out camping that we come
Yeah.
into those, or swimming, like with a shark attack or something.
Yes. Ooh.
But we were. I was at field school years ago up in northern New Mexico, and we were up there in like late May, June, and it was when all the bears were coming out of hibernation, and
Oh, you're
they were
hungry.
hungry. They were
Yeah.
hungry, and
Yeah.
so like in the middle of the night, one of them was coming up to the camp and doing that like huffing that
Yeah.
and
Oh,
then they back off and then they come up again and you don't know like is this the time that he's actually coming and there's nothing like waking up out of a deep sleep and hearing that animal outside your tent that you realize your tent's basically just like a wrapper. It's just like a
oh.
burrito wrapper.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah. There's no stopping. They can pull doors off cars.
I know that you're
Yeah.
the zipper. I hope he doesn't figure out the zipper. You know
No,
what I mean?
Jesus.
It's like,
Yeah.
no, he's coming through that thing. And years ago, there was a Far Side cartoon. I'm not sure if you remember, but it was two polar bears and they're chewing into an igloo up in the Arctic. And one of them saying, hey, I just love these things. Crunchy on the outside and a chewy center.
Oh. Oh. Oh.
But John, for animals though, we always kind of give them a pass, even if they attack somebody or wild. Even your dogs, apparently, I read. If you die and your dog's in there long enough, your dog will eat
Yeah.
you as well.
Absolutely.
He will be like,
Everybody
all
for
right.
themselves. at
Yeah.
that point.
I just wondered, like, how many days of begging for a treat before the dog's finally like, okay.
Not as many as you'd think. I'm guessing.
Yeah,
You
my
guess
dog.
like, 25, 30 a month at least. No.
Yeah,
Probably less than a fortnight.
yeah. My dogs, I'm taking a nap, and they'll.
Yeah.
if I'm not up giving them a treat, they're like,
They'll start
okay.
gumming your ankle.
Like, okay, we're gonna play that game. All right.
They're already licking the salt off of us. I mean, it's not that far.
Yeah. But we always say, to them, it's like it's in their nature. They don't know any better.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And even when people get attacked by sharks, they'll say something like, well, I was out in their environment.
Yes.
In their world.
Yes.
But the question for us today is, what if those animals doing the eating are just like us?
Yeah.
What if they're other humans and they do know better?
Yes.
How do we feel about getting eaten then? So Wetmore says that, quote, the idea of being of both eating corpses and being eaten often fills one with disgust.
Yeah.
A feeling that psychologists describe as survival by aversion. We develop a primal repulsion to harmful things that drive us to detest and avoid them.
Yes.
Which is like what you were saying.
Yeah,
I think.
it's the ultimate taboo.
Yeah. And Wetmore quotes Dr. Paul Rosen, who said that, quote, this disgust is a reminder of our animal nature, a reminder that we too are meat and meat eaters. So just first of all, we need to get a couple definitions out of the way. And again, Wetmore gives two definitions. He says that cannibals are creatures that eat the same species as themselves.
Okay.
Thus, we can only talk about cannibals eating humans if the creature doing the eating is also a human.
Okay. Straightforward. Sure.
Yeah. Yeah. And then there's a term called anthropophagi or anthropophagy. And these are just creatures that eat humans, regardless of the eater's species.
I see. So we can be a cannibal and an anthropophagi.
Right,
Pophagi.
right.
Pophagy?
Both of them. I looked it up, and they were both acceptable. But yeah, so you can have, as long as it's the same species, so you could have insects that are cannibals, but unless somebody's actually eating a human, then they're not an anthropophagus.
Yeah. Oh boy. And that's who we're talking about.
Right. Oh. And anthropophagi or anthropophagus actually comes from the Greek words anthropos for man and phagos meaning to eat.
Oh boy. Yes, it does.
You getting hungry? Did I hear your stomach growling over?
Well, I'm in a confused state because you opened up with the burn ends, and now I'm in. I don't know what I'm doing. I'm jet lagged. I don't know what's going on. I could do anything at this point.
That's how I felt. It's like I love meat. But then reading all this stuff, I'm like, oh, maybe I don't know. The word anthropophagus is the same as sarcophagus. Which is sarcophagus, which is a stone coffin, means sarkos, which is Greek for flesh, from phagos, meaning to eat. And so therefore the coffin was supposed to be like eating the flesh of the dead person. Like you would put it in there and they would consume them.
Ugh.
And in his book, Cannibalism, A Perfectly Natural History, Bill Shutt. Bill Shutt.
Remind me not to, I don't know, Bill.
Bill's invited us
over. A lot of friends with a title like that.
Yeah, Bill's brought in some venison that he got over there.
Oh, boy.
It's in the break room. Go ahead, help yourself. But he gives a little bit more nuanced definition. He says that cannibalism is the killing and consumption of either all or part of another individual that is of the same species.
God.
So he's making the point that it's another. And the reason why he says that is that, we all, for example, if you chew your fingernails and swallow them, you're actually consuming part of you. Or if you chew your nail, your cuticles and swallow them.
Or your boogers or whatever.
Right. So he's making the point that like it has to be somebody else.
Yes.
That's the, you know.
Yeah.
And then the word cannibal itself, like where does that come from? And Roger Byard, in an article titled Cannibalism Overview and Medico-Legal Issues, says that the word cannibal comes from the word cannibales, which was the name the Spanish gave to some of the indigenous people they first encountered in the Caribbean. And it's actually the same term, like Caribbean, only cannibal. It's coming from the same root.
So they're saying that. So they ran into cannibals there, and they just thought that's and that's just who Caribbeans were. Caribbean people were all cannibals in their mind.
In their mind, yeah, is what it was. And Shirley Lindenbaum says that the word cannibal is said to be a legacy of Columbus' second voyage to the Caribbean in 1493. It originally referred to the Caribs and the Antilles, who were then identified as eaters of human flesh. And according to Shuttigan, the change from Carib to Cannib was just a mispronunciation, but they're basically coming from the same root word. And there had been humans eating humans prior to Columbus voyages in the 1490s. But prior to the 1490s, people usually used the term anthropophagus.
Wow.
That was the term that they used.
But then...
yeah, and then slowly after the 1490s, probably due to colonialism, then the term cannibal started being used for people who...
Well, it's more specific, too, because it was talking about, in their mind, a particular people, made it more personal.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. In Greek mythology, you had many examples of cannibalism, where humans eating humans, or at least human-like creatures eating humans. The Greek god Kronos was supposed to have eaten his children,
right?
Because he had heard that one of them was going to take his place. And that's the story about how Zeus came into being, is that Zeus's mother substituted a stone for Kronos to eat instead of Zeus, and then Zeus was able to kill Kronos, his father, and then recover his siblings out of Kronos' stomach.
Oh, God.
Yeah. So there's that famous painting by Francisco Goya where it shows Saturn or Kronos eating his children. I'll have to post that because it's just a horrifying painting.
Yeah. Oh, God.
And then in the Odyssey, remember, there's the Cyclops.
Yes.
And Polyphemus, and that's what he captures. He's kind of human. He only has one eye, but he's very human-like. But he captures Odysseus and Odysseus' crew, and he starts eating them when they're in the cave.
God.
But the thing is, what Catalin Avramescu, who's a writer, says that the Greeks and Romans always put all the cannibalism on the outside, on the borders.
Right. It was never them. Never.
Right.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Right. So it was like a benchmark. Cannibalism was a benchmark between what was civilized and what was not civilized.
I buy that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's start with that. We don't eat ourselves.
Yeah.
We don't eat each other, everybody. Rule 1.
Right. And everybody does it. You know what I mean? It's everybody's like, well, they're the people that eat other people.
Right.
And I even found like an 1866 essay called Cannibalism in Europe by Richard Charnock. And he said in the Middle Ages, stories of cannibalism were wonderfully enlarged, and people who had not embraced Christianity were pretty generally set down as anthropophagi.
Oh, I see.
I see. And so like during the Crusades, they say both the Saracens would say that the Christians ate human flesh. And the Christians on their side maintain that the Saracens ate men, women, and children, and were especially fond of eating babies.
Yeah.
So
and you hear that over and over. That we're real good at hating the other.
Right.
We're good at it.
but it's one of those things where, well, if we're all doing it, like if they think we're doing it and we think we're doing it, like what?
It doesn't matter who you are. You get hungry enough, and I don't care how Christian you are.
Right. And that's basically the argument that Columbus made when he labeled certain Indians flesh eaters or cannibales. And Bill Schutt says in 1503, Queen Isabella told Columbus that the Indians who did not practice cannibalism should be free from slavery and mistreatment. However, those who did practice cannibalism should be taught the sacred Catholic faith and be captured and sold into slavery.
Double loser.
I know that'll make you go to mass. That'll make you go to mass.
You got to go to mass, and you're going to be a slave.
Right. And so what happened is, if you give someone instructions like that, of course, the conquistadors were trying to enslave people.
Yeah.
So, okay, if they're not cannibals, we're not supposed to mistreat them and enslave them.
Turns out they're all cannibals.
I
saw him. Yeah, he was definitely.
Yeah, and even the tribes that they had originally said, on the first voyage were peaceful. In the second voyage and afterwards, by the early 1500s, they were saying, on second thought, we looked at it and they were cannibals.
Yeah.
And Schutt says, in the end, tall tales, especially those with bestial or cannibalistic angles, effectively dehumanize the islanders. And not only did this justify Spain's rapidly evolving slave raiding agenda, but it also established a mindset toward the locals and came to resemble pest control. So,
they had to do it.
Yeah, they're cannibals. We had to exterminate them, or we had to enslave them and get them out.
Where were the actual cannibals, though? Where in the Caribbean? Where were there actual, or was it all a facade?
Well, I'm sure, in most cultures, around the world, and I wouldn't say all cultures, but there are ritualistic practices for cannibalism.
Yeah.
And there were rules for that type of cannibalism, and religious rules, for example.
Or for our podcast, for example, we have a for every show.
Yeah.
Maybe we shouldn't go into this right now.
Yeah, I actually eat you never hear about people eating themselves. You know what I mean? If somebody hey, I just wanted to see what my thigh felt, tasted like,
Yeah.
And also, put Gates barbecue sauce on anything.
Anything.
Pretty much.
Slow cook anything. You took a turd and slow cook it. It's going to be good.
But the thing is, they just had a blanket labeling of the whole culture is cannibalistic, even if it may have only happened at certain times of the year, or if it only happened
or even if they just thought it happened,
right?
Too
right.
I could see, yeah.
And so again, it was a way to take away people's humanity and to justify what you could do with them, because once they're not human, then you can do anything you want with them.
Had to.
And Wetmore makes a good point. He says, from the European perspective, Europeans were civilized and thus had abandoned cannibalism millennia before, and now we're bringing civilization to the savage parts of the globe. And then he says, everybody is somebody's cannibal, which I think is a great quote.
So true.
And ironically, in Europe between the 1400s and 1700s, they were still eating human flesh. They were eating corpses and parts of people for medicinal purposes.
What?
Yeah. And one of the most common ways to consume a human body in the 1400s through 1700s was through a powder called mumia, M-U-M-I-A. And mumia was the pulverized remains of an Egyptian mummy.
Oh my God. So they dig up a mummy, turn him into powder and sell it as a supplement?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
It would be like in your smoothie or something. Or you could make it into a compress and apply it to a wound.
Oh my God.
And mummies were supposed to be good treatment for vertigo, palsy, stomach ailments, and thin blood.
Oh my God! What's wrong with thin blood? Anemia, I guess.
Yeah, I think it was. And Schutt says that the problem was, though, that there weren't enough mummies being shipped off to Europe. during that time from
Jesus.
Egypt.
Oh my
So of
God.
course there got to be a bootleg
Yeah, of
industry of just getting like just somebody and
or just finding some dead person and grinding their bones. Oh
yeah,
my God.
that's what it was.
Jesus Christ.
And that was acceptable medicine and kind of like alchemy or something, but it was like medicine, alchemy kind of in there that
you're ingesting the life.
Right.
The
The life form of it. Another
I
way
give you permission to pulverize my bones.
That's all right.
Yeah,
man.
I give you permission.
I take Metamucil. That's enough. I don't want to overdo it.
Put a half teaspoon of John in there. See what happens.
I get a cold. I get a cold and start losing my voice.
Yeah.
That son of a bitch. Even from beyond the grave, he got me sick. The other thing that they would do was you would eat the fat of a recently executed person.
Ooh.
Yeah, so eating the fat of a recently executed person was supposed to be good for rheumatism and joint pain.
Eating the fat, what does that mean?
So after somebody was executed, they would cut them down and then like render the fat. Like I can't imagine how much fat there was there, somebody had been in prison.
But render it, you put it in a hot scalding, you boil the person.
Yeah.
Basically.
Yeah. You get the fat out.
God.
And then people would eat that as a like a rheumatism. It was like the early gabapentin, I guess.
Oh my God.
And then there was something, Roger Byard says there was something called King's Drops, which were taken by Charles II in England in the 1600s. And those were human skull bones that had been crushed up and then put into alcohol.
Yeah, well, that's fine. That I get.
You're coming around. The more I talk about it.
Oh, yeah. And alcohol, around. Sure. Oh, God.
Well, Marnie Camping Harris, in the article Cannibal King, What Exactly Were the King's Drops? She says that they could be traced back to a doctor called Jonathan Pollard. And Pollard thought that miraculous health benefits could be had if you consumed crushed up skulls of those who suffered a gruesome death.
Oh my God. How do you get to there? The thinking, okay, somebody dies a horrible death. That will be good medicine.
Right.
Because maybe their life essence was caught and before,
they
died young.
There was also one that you would find like moss that had been growing on a human skull, like at a cemetery. And that moss was also supposed to be like, give you miraculous health benefits.
Yeah, grow your hair, maybe.
Yeah. Really?
Everybody's wearing these moss toupees.
But anyway, Charles II, he apparently would add the mixture to wine or chocolate and then just kind of sip on that all day.
Oh,
and
you can add pea to wine and chocolate, it'll be fine.
He said on his deathbed, he was they were giving him like 40 King's Drops a day. So it's like, hey, maybe it's not working if you're having to have 40 King's Drops. But the thing is, you never heard Europeans at the time referring to themselves as cannibals.
No.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah. And, like we said, you're always somebody else's cannibal. So even, in Latin America and Africa, the indigenous populations also would speak about the Europeans' cannibalism in the slave trade. You know what I mean? Like taking their lives and devouring their lives in the slave trade.
I think that's fair.
Yeah, me too. And then it's like, well, how common is cannibalism in animals? And Schutt says it's very common if you look at insects, snails, crustaceans, fish, toads, salamanders. There's plenty of cannibalism.
Salamanders, huh?
Yeah. And he said cannibalism only differs in frequency between major animal groups, non-existent in some and common in others. So,
yeah.
And it usually has to do with stresses that are put on the creatures by the local environmental conditions.
Yeah, it's cold. You can't eat anything. All you got it
Right.
left is
And he says, out of 5,700 species of mammals, 75 of them are reported to regularly practice some form of cannibalism.
Regularly.
Yeah.
Wow.
so I know
Okay.
people used to always say, like, well, humans are the only ones that will resort to cannibalism. And
No,
it's not true. It is lots of almost, or I don't know if I'd say a majority, but a lot of animals resort to cannibalism.
I mean, don't you think we have to resort to it at some point? If the population keeps exploding the way it is, we're not going to have enough the ability. I mean, it's all headed towards Soylent Green, don't you think?
Yeah.
I just think that's not an if, it's a when.
Yeah, like if that's what Shuck kind of says. He's like, well, with the environmental conditions, like if it gets too hot to grow enough food, or if it gets not enough water for everybody, or to grow enough food, then probably
we're making less food and we're multiplying more people. Something's got to give.
Yeah.
You can't eat dirt.
I don't know. I'd have to watch. I wanted to watch Soylent Green again. I remember remember Edgar G. Robinson when he goes in for it. Like they give you a nice send off. Remember you're laying in there watching a nice film of your life or whatever. So
they send you out right. I mean, at first I was so disturbed by that movie, and the older I get, I'm kind of like, what are we supposed to do?
What else are you gonna do with me?
We got all these dead people. I mean, we don't have food to feed everybody. What are we thinking?
Yeah. To me, that would be like, I'd much rather have that than like being in a natural burial to come back as a tree or something. It's like, make me into some nachos.
Yeah.
Eat me at a Chiefs game. You know what I mean? Like,
we just carve out your belly and put like cheese in there and dip your fingers in it. Oh, it'd be great.
It's what he wanted.
We dress you up, in the uniform.
I love it. Let me. After we get done here, I'll get out my will. I need to change it.
Yeah.
So anyway, how common is cannibalism in humans? And Wetmore, he quotes Louis Petrinovich, and I actually got Petrinovich's book as well. And he wrote the book, The Cannibal Within. Okay. And Petrinovich says that there are 5 key types of human cannibalism.
Oh boy.
So the first one's medicinal cannibalism, which we talked about already.
The King's Drop, sure.
Right. And the second one is mortuary cannibalism. And this is when, as a burial practice, you eat the corpse of the dead person.
Oh my God. Who does that?
Well, it's a type of, it's called endocannibalism, meaning that there's endocannibalism where you eat people within your own social group, and exocannibalism where you eat people outside of your social group. So this is endocannibalism. And there's a few cultures that do it. Kathy Benjamin in Funerals to Die For says the Wari, an indigenous people in Brazil, used to, I don't know if they still do, but they would eat the body when somebody died. And Wetmore says that as recently as the 1960s, the Wari were doing this.
Wow.
And the body was decapitated, eviscerated, and roasted. And to honor the departed family member, the important parts of the body would be consumed in a community feast.
See, that of course is, disturbing, but yet it makes total sense.
I know.
Why would you not want your body to feed the rest of the tribe or of the group?
And they say it's a way to honor the person, and also it's like you're consuming them, so you're taking them in and making them part of the group that's surviving. What's going on?
Yeah, I mean, it makes sense to me. It really does. It makes me nauseous, but it also makes sense.
But you see, that would be like something that a European would see and be like, "Oh, they're cannibals," but there's actually a reason behind it that makes sense. Yeah. It may not be your thing,
No.
But it does make sense.
Is it nutritious? Are people nutritious?
I don't think so. I tried to find that. The only closest I could find that it tastes like veal.
Oh God! Oh boy! Oh,
people Idi Amin said it
okay.
tasted like veal. I think it was.
Oh my God! Well, somebody's not going to be eating Norwegian brown cheese today.
Oh no, is that what it is? What's brown cheese?
Brown cheese is this thing that Norwegians eat. It's not cheese.
Yeah.
It looks like brown cheese, but it's not. It's like a spread. I'm not exactly sure what it is. I'll try to find out.
You better ask. You better ask.
I've tried it. It tastes a little caramely. It's very strange.
Put it on a piece of bread, or what do you eat?
Yeah. You put it on a cracker or bread.
Christmas gift, Christmas ideas.
Okay, I'll bring it home for you. And of course, salmon. Salmon's everywhere. Fish, if any kind. Yeah.
So anyway, the foray people also in Papua New Guinea would eat the dead relatives as part of a burial practice. And back in the late 50s, early 60s, there were a lot of breakouts of a disease called kuru, which it's a degenerative neurological disease like mad cow's disease.
Oh,
so people couldn't figure out where it was coming from, but it was like predominance in this small tribe in Papua New Guinea. And then what they found out is it was from eating the brains of their deceased relatives.
Oh God!
So it's like mad cow's disease.
Oh, Jesus!
And there was just an article in the Guardian yesterday, I think, about kuru, about genetic DNA that they're doing on the foray, and the results of kuru and how that affected like people's marriage practices and things.
God, you can't eat brains. Brains are gross. That's where I draw the line. I'll eat your thigh.
Yeah.
But don't give me your brain, and I'm not eating your eyeball either. Don't give me that.
Yeah. I'm not really into liver as well.
No,
like liver.
My mom used to make us eat liver once a year for some reason. Oh God, nasty.
Yeah. I hate even chicken liver. I love chicken gizzards, but not chicken liver. I can't do chicken liver. The third type, Petrinovich says, is sacrificial cannibalism. That's where you eat a victim to take revenge, gain strength of your enemies, make an offering to your gods, for example.
Right.
There's also apparently a sect called the Agori in India, and the Agori, they will eat corpses and bodies and that they'll fish out of the river. And the idea is that they're trying to demonstrate that eating carrion and rubbish is the same as eating any other food.
God, that can't end well.
I don't know, but it's kind of like the idea of like, okay, I'm going to take a negative and turn it into a positive or something. But it's the idea is like, okay, I'm going to show you how meaningless life is. I'm going to eat these corpses that come out of the river.
The Ganges, they would just like grab them out. Oh my God.
Yeah. And then the next type of cannibalism is political cannibalism. That's where you eat your enemy to kind of instill terror in other people.
Okay.
The Crusaders allegedly cannibalized their dead opponents during the siege of Mara.
Really?
Byard says, yeah.
God.
And then apparently the Iroquois would also eat parts of their prisoners in front of them to kind of show like the fear, trying to instill fear in people.
Jesus.
And then finally, John, we get to survival cannibalism, which is probably what most of us know about.
Yes.
And that's cannibalism where you're starving and you have to eat someone.
Yes.
And Wetmore says that, usually these are during periods of famine or food scarcity or like during a shipwreck or airplane wreck.
Snowbound, the Donners.
Yeah.
You and I know quite a bit about the Donner Party.
I know. We actually did a show about the Donner Party.
Yes, we did.
Years ago, we did Bigfoot, the Donner Party, and My Arrest, which was...
basically comparing and contrasting mistakes that three people had made. George Donner from the Donner Party, Grover S. Krantz, who was a anthropologist who threw his career away for Bigfoot, and John Lehr.
Yeah.
Me. And that was a great show.
That
We
was a
have
great
it
show.
on audio, by the way.
We should post
share
that.
it. Yeah,
Yeah.
we'll figure out a way to share that.
Yeah.
But we have it. And
Yeah.
it was a good show.
It was a brilliant. It was kind of like weaving those in and out, and your
Yeah,
storytelling was
so
really good
fun.
in it. Yeah.
So fun. But in doing it, you and I did quite a bit of research into the Donner Party. It was crazy.
Yeah, the journals and getting into like what people actually said afterwards.
Oh, those poor people. Jesus.
Yeah. Catalin Avramescu says in his book, An Intellectual History of Cannibalism, he says, it is almost axiomatic for the law of nature that self-preservation, survival, is such a fundamental right, if not the fundamental right par excellence.
Yeah.
And
all bets are off.
Right. Louis Petrinovich says, when people are starving, the social rules that apply in normal times are no longer relevant.
Yeah.
And people revert to more basic survival behaviors.
That's right. Just like your dog, you get hungry enough, you'll do anything.
Yeah. And then Petrinovich, it's a really frightening statement he makes is, it is as though the outer coverings of society have been peeled away to reveal the basic core of human nature.
Yes. Stay alive. Stay alive.
Right.
In order to make more people.
Right. And so in other words, under certain extraordinary circumstances, we may have to resort to eating each other.
That's right.
And if we do, we're supposed to be able to forgive people for that because of the extraordinary circumstances.
Hard to do, though. Can you imagine running into some of those Donner Party people? Soccer. Yeah. Susan just said, you wait for the apology. You're not going to get it. Yeah.
It's like, he doesn't even bring it up.
Hanging out with somebody who ate dead people to survive. I mean, God.
Oh,
my God.
Oh. It'd be like coming over for like Thanksgiving or something.
You watch him eating a turkey leg and you're just like, oh boy.
Yeah. I think, you know what? I'm going to eat later.
Go watch a Cowboys game.
Yeah. But apparently there are some rules to follow in survival cannibalism.
Oh, Jesus.
And first of all, you're not supposed to kill someone to eat them.
Oh, okay. Yeah. That makes sense.
Ideally, you want that person to have already died of natural causes, probably starvation.
Sure.
And if you do have to kill someone, then you should draw straws or lots.
Oh.
You know.
What's the difference between straws and lots? I've always wondered.
I don't know. I thought about that. I had a feeling you would ask about it.
Really?
Yeah. I sometimes when I go through, like I was working on this right up until we started the recording, and I was like, I should look up what's the difference between a straw and a lot.
That's so funny.
Yeah.
It's like that Monty Python thing where they pull straws for something. I can't remember. There's some sketch where they pull straws, and the guy who's the head of they're all soldiers, and so the general is the one who says, we got to draw straws, and he gets the long straw, and he's like, oh wait a minute, we said long, right? Try to switch it up.
Yeah, but it's supposed to give like the person like in the life raft or something, to give them like a say, like, hey, it could be any of us. You know. And then there was a hierarchy you had to follow in the order of who got eaten. And generally, strangers and outsiders are eaten first.
Okay, sure.
I don't know if this was an official hierarchy. This sounds like a hierarchy.
I agree.
And Wetmore says from the 15th to the early 20th centuries, this would be any person of color.
Yeah. Always.
Remember, in the Donner Party, there were two Indians that were helping them.
Yeah.
And
they survived. Well, they'd been split into two groups. That's right.
Yeah.
And the Indians refused. They were against it.
Right.
But then they ended up getting eaten.
Yeah. Because they were the only Indians in the group.
Yeah.
So then after that, anybody of a different nationality from the rest of the group would be eaten.
Yeah. Different in any way.
And then friends are eaten.
So I eat you before I'd eat my family.
member. Yeah, family member. And then family members are like, it's like a seating order on a plane.
Yeah, it is. It's like a wedding party.
Which table you get? Like, who's going to be eating?
If
last?
you're up close, you're in good stead for now.
Yeah, let's hope we get get rescued soon.
It's just like in your refrigerator. You eat the least valuable food at first. You save the best for last.
Yeah. That'd be awful if you were looking around and be like, I don't know any of these people, and
they're all related, and I'm the one.
Yeah.
Oh Jesus, they're all looking at you like a piece of cooked chicken.
Yeah. So Wetmore gives a couple examples of survival cannibalism. In 1710, there was a ship called the Nottingham Galley that wrecked off the coast of Maine. And there were 14 crew members on the ship. They all survived initially. And then 4 of them died. And at that point, they all decided that the ship's carpenter had died after about 3 weeks. And they decided that they were going to have to eat him.
3 weeks? They waited too long.
I know. It's like, like how long do you wait before you start suggesting?
Right away. Right away. Sushi grade. Don't wait.
Yeah, let's not get to the point where we can't do this. Let's do this like right after.
Unless you're cold. It's cold. Maybe it was in the winter.
Yeah, it was.
Oh, okay. Well, then you got time.
Yeah, it was in December. They couldn't make a fire. The bad thing about the Nottingham Galley case, they were on Boone Island, which is like 6 miles off the coast of Maine. And they could actually see other ships going in to the harbor. But because they couldn't make a fire, nobody knew they were out there. So,
well, that's like the Donners. They would have to cut down trees. The snow was so thick. They'd cut down trees to make a platform and then build the fire on the platform.
Isn't that crazy?
God.
Just awful.
Awful.
So anyway, the captain had been fortunately, I guess you would say, the captain had been a butcher in England.
Jesus.
So the first thing he did with the carpenters, he cut off the head, hands, and feet.
Yeah. So it doesn't look like it.
Right.
Yeah.
But I'm like, if you had just sat there watching him cut off the head, hands, and feet, I mean, how much is that going to make it? Yeah. And so then they washed it off, and he took some thin strips from the carpenter's breast, they said.
Jesus.
And they wrapped it in seaweed and ate it like that. So it is like sushi, like you had said.
Oh, God. Chewy.
And then
gotta be chewy.
Yeah, it's just they had finally been, after like 24 days, somebody finally rowed out in like a little boat. And they were discovered, but the person couldn't get them back all into the little canoe that he had come ashore with.
Oh my God.
So he was like, okay, the weather's getting bad. I'll come back in a few days when the weather clears with a bigger boat and we'll get you all off of this. And so they were like, well, can you at least make us a fire since you're out here?
Yeah.
So he made them a fire. So for the next 3 days, as they waited for him to come back, they had to keep eating the carpenter. But at least they said they could cook him at that point.
Yeah. Oh my God.
The next one was in 1884. It was called the Mignonette, and it was a ship that sank in the Atlantic. And 4 members of the crew, including the captain, were in a lifeboat. And what's interesting about this one is after about 16 days, the cabin boy drank some ocean water. Okay. And he became delirious. And he was going in and out of consciousness. And so what they did is the other 3 decided they would kill him and eat him at that point. And that's what they did. They tried to say later that they had drawn lots, but then people are, well, if he was, how something tells me.
But I don't think they did the wrong thing. He was delirious. He was going to die.
Right. That's what people said. But the kind of it's a difference between the law of nature of like doing what you have to do to survive.
Right.
Or the law of the sea. And then other people were like, well, you should have at least waited until he actually died. Yeah.
I don't know.
And then, it's apparently 5 days later after they killed him and ate him, they were rescued.
See, that's me. That's me. Right when I put the piece of you in my mouth and look up, and there's the goddamn shit.
That's what I was thinking. It's almost like if you go down that route, you don't want to be rescued immediately. You know what I mean?
Yeah. God.
You don't want to be like, okay, the deed is done, and then somebody say like, hey, what's that on the horizon?
I gotta say, I just don't think I'd have the will to live, to do it. I'm not strong enough.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know.
Some ocean water and hope it would kill me. You know? It's just too much.
Yeah. Yeah. I think you would be good on a lifeboat, though. You keep making everybody laugh.
Yeah. I could juggle, scold.
Do some scenes. You could do some scenes for people.
All right. Give me a location. Give me a location.
Lifeboat.
Oh,
no.
All right.
Yeah, you have to take it.
Enjoy your seawater. I'm going to do a scene for you.
Yeah. I think you would have a lot of worth on the lifeboat. You'd probably be like one of the last people.
You'd be one of the last people because you know everything. You'd be the...
No, I would...
It's interesting the captain is always the one who survives on all of these, though.
Yeah, they were actually tried for murder when they were rescued because people were like, hey, you didn't wait until he was dead. You actually murdered him.
Well, who spilled the beans on that?
I don't know. There was only...
Them. Who narked?
I don't
Jesus.
know.
Don't tell him.
I think he cut the cabin boy's throat. So maybe somebody was like, wait a second, how did he
died? I cut him to drain him.
Yeah.
Easy. God.
But anyway, they were found guilty of murder.
Wow.
And then ultimately, after 6 months, the sentence was commuted because people said it was extenuating circumstances.
I totally agree.
Yeah. And even the cabin boy's family had forgiven them. They were like, it was the only thing you did.
It's free for all.
Yeah. But the thing is, you just have to remember the takeaway from that one.
Wait till they die.
Wait till they die or
lie.
Hope that you don't get rescued immediately.
Yeah.
even if you see a ship after that, pretend like you didn't see the ship. Don't say anything until later, All right, John. So you and I have come to the end of our voyage of cannibalistic discovery.
Really fascinating.
Yeah. Yeah.
We didn't get to the Donner Party, really. We did. We touched on it.
Yeah.
And then you got the soccer team in the plane that crashed.
Right.
But really, it's all the same story.
Yeah,
in the end.
Yeah.
You know.
It's like a sitcom. It's like a sitcom. It's basically they're just telling the same stories over and over again.
Yeah, over and over.
They get hungry. There's murmuring. There's always murmuring.
Yeah, there's always murmuring. And then suddenly you're drawing straws.
I think Survivor, like if you really wanted to do Survivor, like Survivor / Squid Game.
For real.
Yeah. Like let's put it, see how many contestants you get now. Like, okay, we're going to eat each other at the end of this thing.
Oh my God.
Petrinovich says, the cannibal is within all of us and cannibals are within all cultures. Should the circumstances demand the appearance?
Yeah. We're not all that. When the shit hits the fan, we'll do whatever it takes.
Yeah.
We're little teeny weeny scared sweaty primates who just think staying alive is so god darn important.
Yeah, so you said you wouldn't actually do the murder and what if somebody was like did it and then was like pass you over a piece?
Oh yeah, I do it.
Okay, I'm glad we got that out of the way. I'm glad
he's already dead. I'm not going to wait it.
One of those people. That's like my wife hates throwing out food. I'd be like, well, come on. What are we?
Yeah.
And then finally, just John, I would say Kevin Wetmore says that the act of cannibalism transforms a person. The one who eats the dead becomes something else.
Yes. There's no going back from that.
Yeah.
That you are forever changed.
Yeah. People will always be making At dinner, people will always be making a joke.
Yeah.
Like,
it tasted like chicken, didn't it?
Well, I knew you'd take an extra helping of that roast beef. You know.
You want a thigh or a breast? Oh, wait, I know.
Oh, no, hang on.
Yeah. Don't answer. I already know.
All right, John, but I feel like, after this, I feel like I've become something else. Just researching. It was so raw, looking at the photos and thinking about it.
So raw until you cook it. Then it's cooked. Crispy.
It's more palatable. It's more palatable. So anyway, if it ever comes down to it, John, first of all, give me a chance to talk you out of it.
Yeah. Well, I'll be the judge of that. I'll be when it's time.
Well,
Trust me.
I'm like, why do we have to go all the way with it? I'd be more than happy to have my leg cut off for you guys, and then we can all enjoy it.
You say that now, but you'd be upset later.
Well, then I was thinking you could 1 week I have you over to my shack, and we eat my leg, but I'm there to enjoy. I'm the host. I'm a good host.
Okay.
And then the next week you're like, hey,
you're
come
right.
over to my.
Why are there no examples of that? You're absolutely right.
Why do you have to go all the way and eat everything? You just gobble it down. Just gobble down your food.
God,
enjoy
right.
it.
I'd let you have my leg. I'd give you a leg.
Yeah.
Or just an ear. Let's just start with an ear.
Yeah. You never hear people let's nibble on his ears.
Yeah. I'd give you an ear. Well, this was fascinating and certainly perfect for me right here in Norway.
Yeah.
Where it's a little chilly.
Right.
And if something goes wrong between me and Susan, we know what we're going to have to do.
It's the order. It's the order.
This is human number 2, signing off from Oslo, Norway.
And this is human number 1. Thank you so much for joining us, everyone. We hope you enjoyed this podcast. If you did, please tell a friend about it. And don't forget to hit us up on Facebook and Instagram. And we love you guys. And bon appetit.
Bon appetit. Susan says, just eat one and tell another.
Love you guys. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you. Bye.